We do. Thank you, Chair Howell. This item is requesting your consideration of any action necessary related to off-leash activity we're experiencing at the Santa Ana River jetty, and I'd like to introduce to you tonight our Assistant City Manager, Carol Jacobs, who will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners.
Welcome. Thank you, Carol, for being here.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Several months ago, staff was asked to look into resident concerns regarding dogs off leash at the mouth of the Santa Ana River. Staff did some research and first identified ownership, rules, regulations for dogs in the area, enforcement or lack thereof, and worked with the county to develop an MOU which would allow the city to enforce dog regulations in the area. The city wanted community input on the issue and provided a number of opportunities, including a Facebook survey, a My Sidewalk survey. We also sent postcards notifying residents of this meeting from Summit to Orange Avenues, posted on Nextdoor for Newport Crest and Newport Shores residents, and contacted HOAs in the area, including Newport Crest and West Newport and Reno Sands, and asked that the information be shared with residents. It appears that our outreach did a pretty good job this time, so I wanted to show you the area. So this is the area that we are talking about tonight, and I want to briefly go over this with you. Area 19 here, this is property owned by the County of Orange Flood Control District, located within the city of Newport Beach. So the city of Newport Beach rules, regulations apply to this area here. This area, Area 12 and Area 7, belong to the County of Orange. County of Orange rules and regulations state that no dogs are allowed on beaches, period. Our rules state that you can have dogs on the beach before 10 a.m. in the morning and after 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon, all year round, and that's consistent on every beach in Newport Beach. So those are our standard rules in the area. The issues that some of the community members have brought to us, and the reason we are here tonight is there's a list of them there, and you can pretty much read them. Off-leash dogs are against the law here in Newport Beach and on county property. The county is unable to enforce their rules due to this kind of remote location from them. Dogs leave behind messes on beaches, streets, and sidewalks. There's fear of dogs. There's parking and traffic issues in the neighborhood. And off-leash activity takes place adjacent to city beaches, neighborhoods, and street. And the popularity of this area as it continues to grow creates some more and additional problems in greater magnitude in the area, according to residents in the neighborhood. Laura and I took a little field trip last Wednesday, and it was right around 10 o'clock in the morning, and this is the area that we're speaking of. And this little, it almost looks like an island here. This is county property here, and this is county property here. Where this rock formation is, this is kind of the city line, the city boundary. So what's been happening is folks will have their dogs playing here. They'll see a animal control. I'm sorry if you can't see my little pointer here. Animals will be off leash here. Animal control rolls up. Oh, the people run over here, and we can't do anything about it. We can't give them a ticket or anything or a citation, and that has been our historical issue in the area, and that is what has led us to create this draft MOU with the County of Orange, which allow us to cite dog rules in this area as well as on city beaches. Here are some of the signs that are located right at the end of Summit. If you'll notice the yellow sign on the left, that is a city sign. If you notice the white sign at the bottom sign on the right, that is a county sign. We believe that county sign is a little bit confusing to folks because it does say leash, curb, and clean up after your dog. However, there are no dogs allowed on the beach. So regardless of what is decided tonight and before we move forward to the council, we probably need to have that sign be more reflective of the rules and regulations in the area. Just as a note, some of the folks in the audience may have seen large equipment out out exactly in this area, starting last Friday. They're doing a dredging project that's by the County of Orange, and the area in red is the area that they're currently dredging right here, and this is the area that they may consider dredging. They're doing some work in this area right now, which may or may not eliminate this kind of little dog beach area until the sand kind of comes back down to the river jetty and recreates it. This is a normal maintenance project with the county, and something that just happened to be, you know, timing is everything, and the timing of this was not as great as it could have been. That is really the basis of my presentation. I am happy to answer any questions. In addition, we have a number of folks here that are available to you and the community to answer questions. We have Lieutenant Fischbacher with the Police Department. We have our Animal Control Officer. We have Deputy Chief Lewis, who is with our Police Department. Our Animal Control Officer, Valerie Schomburg, and Nick Ott are with us. We have our representative from Orange County Animal Care, which is Lieutenant Frick, and he is available to answer any questions about the county and that area and enforcement. And we were supposed to have some folks from the county to talk about the dredging project in case you have some questions about that. The other thing that we did do is we did take a look at the Huntington Beach Dog Park, which is about 5 miles from this location. That is a on-leash beach. However, that on-leash part is not enforced by the city. And so they pretty much run free down there, and there's lots of parking. I have some slides and information if the commission is interested. Otherwise, I will conclude my presentation and ask if there's any questions.
Carol, are there any people from any of the agencies that'd like to make any presentation as a part of your report?
No, I don't believe so. I believe that they're available to answer any specific questions that you have for them, but they did not have any specifics that they wanted to share with you at this point.
Okay, thank you. And now I'll turn to the commissioners to see any questions. Roy, do you have any questions at this time?
No, I don't, Mr. Chairman, though I think I don't need to hear from the establishment as much as I'd like to hear from the residents that are here tonight. That would be my preference.
Tom?
Yeah, I have some questions for our staff in terms of enforcement. How many enforcement personnel do we have to patrol the beach?
Would you like to?
Thank you. We have 3 full-time animal control officers at this time. We're scheduled, or we have the budget for 4. We're in the process of looking for a 4th at this time.
And how often is that particular part of the beach patrolled?
You know, that's hard to say. It depends on the amount of radio calls or the opportunities they get in their daily routine. I would say it would be patrolled once a day.
Okay, so it's a once a day kind of thing. How does that include weekends?
I would say that's fair, yes.
Okay. And for staff, does Park Patrol also issue tickets, or is it strictly law enforcement?
Not on the beach. Our Park Patrol staff patrols our parks only.
Okay, so in your department, basically you have 3 full-time animal control, and they cover the entire city from basically the river jetty all the way down to Newport Coast. Is that?
That's correct, for 7 days a week.
Okay. I think that's all for now. Thank you. That's the questions I would have.
Thank you, Tom.
Can you wait a minute?
I'll stay here as long as you want.
So if the MOU was adopted, can you explain how the enforcement might change? Because there's not a lot of point in adopting something if it's still not going to be enforced.
Well, the enforcement would not necessarily start with citation process. Our vision for this, again, we'll wait to see what happens with it, but the vision is that you start out with an educational program where you let people know that the rules will be enforced at this point. You go through maybe a month or a little bit longer, and you have that information campaign go forward, and then the enforcement begins, where you would begin issuing warning citations or actual personal service citations.
And so would that be more than once a day?
That depends on the need.
Also, if the adoption is made for the memorandum of understanding, would the county also supply funds or any personnel, or is it just basically the 3 and +1 and that's it?
Well, Lieutenant Frank speak about that. If that's the case, I would love to see a partnership with them in that capacity, maybe in the information component. And then when they do have the opportunity to be down there in an enforcement capacity, we'd certainly expect them to do their share of it.
Okay, thank you.
Ron?
Another question for you. So in our staff report, from January 1st through December 31st last year, there were 6 incidences of dog bites at that location. Can you tell me if there were any police reports filed for those dog bites?
Well, that'll have to be determined because it's a county area. We respond on those as a courtesy because people typically believe that it's our area. And we will go respond and try to either render medical aid or assist them in the process. And we wait for Orange County to respond to take a report in that capacity.
So we look to your partner in crime for a response?
Good evening, I'm Lieutenant Brian Frick with Orange County Animal Care. For the fact is if there is an incident down there and there's been a dog bite, and yes, Newport Beach being closer, if they were able there to gain control of the scene, with dog owners, that nobody's leaving, that sort of thing, we'll respond out. It's necessary if it's been a severe dog bite or anything like that. Most of the time it's because of breaking up dog fights. Biting dogs are impounded and brought to the Orange County Animal Shelter and held for a 10-day quarantine period if it's necessary. There might be some stipulation that they could be quarantined elsewhere. Depends again on the severity of the bite. But yes, we would respond out there and provide assistance with Newport.
Okay, so for those 6 incidences last year, do you know if any police reports were filed?
Not necessarily police reports, but as of bite reports, yes. Even let's just say the parties left the scene and they went to have medical aid at a hospital. The hospital's ER rooms are required, doctor's office are required by law to report all dog bite. So if someone was bitten and had medical aid rendered at an emergency room or a doctor's hospital, yes, those dogs were quarantined.
And then, so following up that logic, so Laura, would that then flow down to the report that we have, those 6? It would full circle.
Yes, I believe that, when we get Lieutenant Fishbacher can correct me if I'm, we get the call, we report it in our system, and then Orange County Animal Cleaner takes over. So it ends up getting reported in ours.
Thank you.
And there's nothing saying that if Newport makes the impound of the biting dog and quarantines it, we still get that report. We receive all bite reports from all over the whole county, from other jurisdictions we don't cover, but they all come to us, so we're aware of it. But yes, they can actually make the impound of the dog and hold it for a quarantine if it's, in their city. Sure.
So I have one question, Laura, and for both of you gentlemen. So the information we got, the data that we got, does that include both county and Newport Beach at everything, whether it's on the county property down at the river or the city property?
Sir, that information is only from the city of Newport Beach. So those are the reports that we've taken as a city, not the county reports. So if somebody called the county directly and we didn't know about it, it would not be in these numbers.
Would the county for last year, for instance, have more than the 6 that the city of Newport has reported?
There's a small possibility, yes. I'm the daily watch commander down there Monday through Friday, and I can't tell you the last time we had calls down there at that particular area. I know about a month and a half ago there was a St. Bernard off leash that killed somebody else's dog on leash. And I took care of that problem personally myself at work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is it, but there's nothing that the police or the sheriff's department are involved in when these bites and these kinds of things happen? I mean, in other words, it doesn't become a misdemeanor or anything like that. Is it dealt, I read that it's dealt between
On the case with the St. Bernard situation where that dog was off leash, we do it, not necessarily, there's no citation for misdemeanors. We actually do what's called potentially dangerous or vicious dog investigation. Those investigations do cost up to $1,500. We determine what happened out there, who was at fault. Is there a reason that we need to declare that attacking dog that killed the other dog doesn't meet the criteria of a potentially dangerous dog? And I could recommend declaring that dog a dangerous dog tentatively, and the dog owner has a right to come in and have hearings and basically refute the evidence that we've gathered. So there is an investigation anytime people are bitten or another dog injures another dog in these situations.
What are some of the results of those investigations?
If you had 10 of the cases, 9 get declared. Yeah. And in the case of the St. Bernard, the owner of that dog chose to have that animal put down.
Larry?
Yes. How many animal control officers from the city of Newport Beach and the county of Orange are on duty at any one time?
The county of Orange, we work 24/7, 365 days a year. We have 6 areas, and at any time, Area 4, which is Huntington Beach, we can have upwards to 2 officers. And if it's a big situation, we can have 6 officers in that particular area if it's necessary. But there's always at least 1 in Huntington Beach, including, through the middle of the night, if it's necessary to respond down on something.
And for Newport Beach, it's 1 to 2. We do not work overnight.
Any other questions or follow-up from any of the agencies that are represented here by any of the commission? Okay, now we'll, are there any questions or comments from the public? Now, the first thing, you need to get all the rules because you're first up. So the rules don't just pertain to you, they pertain to everybody. So please listen closely. First, we will limit because I want to make sure that as many people that wish to have an opportunity to be heard by the commission. Secondly, is if you state your name clearly, Terry can identify that, and where you reside. We appreciate that also. And then you're limited here to this item about the item that's on the agenda. So if you have other comments, you'll have to save those for another part of the agenda later on. But on this issue, we'd appreciate you limiting your comments. There won't be any clapping, yelling, hooting, or any of other demonstrations, please. Because among other things, we can't record those very effectively, but we would appreciate a time of control. We would have enforcement to make sure that the control is taken care of, but my gavel can be very loud. So with that, and if you're...
Excuse me, Chair Howell.
Everybody wants to make sure I tell you again that you have no more than 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir. And excuse the beep, we do set a timer, so you'll hear that beeper go off, and sometimes it can be a little loud, so be prepared for that. Thank you.
As a point of information, will you allow others to yield time?
No.
Or Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedure?
No. Okay. This, tall like yourself, you might want to use that mic over here. This is more for people that can't either stand up or on wheelchairs, at this point. Thank you so much. And any of my dissertation is not included by your time. Please proceed.
My name is Roger Lockhart. I've been a resident of Newport Beach for probably 35 years. Had numerous dogs and other animals during that time. Several issues that I want to address. The first is that the way that this all got started appeared to be Diane Dixon's representation that she had received dozens, and I'm assuming that means over 24 complaints from individuals. The request for information on that appears that there was actually 1 email received, not the dozens that she represented afterwards. The data that has been presented by the city appears to represent incidents which go, I believe, all the way down to 54th Street, correct me if I'm wrong, not the area known as Dog Beach. It also goes all the way into Coast Highway, completely other areas. Those numbers do not represent the specific area that we are talking about. Clearly, that if we're looking at what the city wants and what the people want, this room is a good representation of it. Okay, what Diane Dixon went on, I think you got like what, 20, 30 signatures supporting expanding the police powers of Newport Beach into the county area. The number is opposing that is now approaching 6,000 signatures. I would remind the board that they have an obligation, or the commission, that you have an obligation not just to the homeowners in that specific area, but to all the rest of us, not just in Newport Beach, but the rest of us in the county that use that area. The homeowners that live right there are beach adjacent. They don't own the beach. If they want to own the beach and control it in front of them, I suggest they move down to Emerald Bay. We have a right to be able to go down and use the beach, and we clearly have a demand for that amenity that exceeds what is there in Newport Beach right now. Otherwise, everybody wouldn't be trekking down there. If the city wants to go down there, are we also going to be responsible for completely patrolling that area? I think those are all issues that we need to look at. And again, I actually have a problem with the report being, and the recommendation by staff being done before they've taken 1 minute of testimony from any of the public. I mean, what's that about? Okay, if there's a proposal, isn't it incumbent on staff to interview and give us a chance to provide input prior to their putting up their recommendation? I mean, we're really working sort of ass backwards here. And again, I personally see it coming from Kiff and Dixon down. And then when Dixon, it was a hot potato, it's gotten handed over to you. I don't see Diane here, is she here? Yeah, I don't see her here, and yet this is her baby. She's our mayor, she's my neighbor, she lives 10 doors away from me. Why isn't she here tonight? And like I said, I think these are things that we really need to look at. I'm pissed that staff has come through and put up a recommendation without allowing me to provide input first. Okay, it's ass backwards. If anything, send it back to staff, take our input, then let them come back with a recommendation. Thank you for your consideration.
A couple of things I want to make sure that we have clear, because this commission is very interested in addressing the issue. The no dog off leash, and I'm just generically stating that, is the law now. We're not here to change the law. We're here to hear your input about starting an enforcement of the law that already exists. If the law was to be changed, it would have to go through city council. But here, all we're looking at is whether to proceed with enforcing the law. Secondly is, I'd like to be able to say I didn't understand some of the words that the last speaker used, but I would appreciate that we control our language, especially in the presentation here. And with that, please proceed to state your name and your address. We would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Brian Horn, 1423 Mariners Drive. Been a resident in Newport for roughly 34 years. When things get emotionally charged, and with dogs, it's emotionally charged. They love them, the dogs love them. You know, I like to take emotion out of it and just deal with as much fact and mathematics as I can. There are 68 properties from Orange Street to the river jetty. Let's assume that each property has 4 people living there. That's 272 people. Now let's double that number, and that's 544 people. According to the City of Newport Beach office yesterday, there are somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 dog owners in Newport Beach. The number is rough because it's done by a third party in Texas, and you have to fill out a form to get the number, and so I apologize. But let's take the lower number of 5,000 and the higher number of 544 residents from Orange to River Jetty. That means that 544 residents are restricting 5,000 dog owners. Otherwise said, 1/10 of 1%, expressed as a percentage of dog owners, are attempting to restrict 5,000 dog owner residents. Some of this is a government, we are a government by representation. I can't imagine that our city would allow 0.1% to set policy. By the way, this does not include any other cities, Huntington, Costa Mesa, Irvine, Laguna Beach, which all come down to that beach at times. The parking there limits the amount of dogs that are on that beach. Make no mistake of that. If you can't park there, you're not going to take your dog there. So there is a limited amount of dogs that can get to that beach. I would suggest that we do the right thing. Our government represents the majority. Let's have a dog beach out there. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I ask that we would hold our applause for a while, please, until we go further. Who's the next speaker?
Good evening. My name is Tony Lopez. I'm an 18-year resident of Newport Shores, and I've been taking my dog there pretty much ever since I moved into the area. And previous to that, I grew up in Huntington Beach, so I'm very familiar with the area. To begin with, I'd like to respectfully object to what the assistant city manager mentioned. If you bring up the slide again, I don't know if it's possible, that area that she claimed is the area that the dogs play at, and then people immediately go over to the county land when there's an enforcement official present, is not true in my experience. All the dogs are usually on the county land because the whole point of us being on that beach is to allow the dogs to swim. The area that she was saying is the high use area is actually the way people ingress or egress, the way they go in and out of the beach. And parking, in my experience, hasn't been an issue because I live close enough where I just walk over with the dog. In the whole time I've been going for the 18 years, not once have I seen a dog fight. I mean, this basically is a little oasis of community fun for canines as well as humans alike. There's a real sense of community. The dogs get along very well. I mean, Mr. Darcy, which is my rescue golden retriever, he's got his group of friends that he enjoys seeing on a regular basis, believe it or not. They've kind of formed their own friendships. And just as a point of reference, I'm usually over there in the evenings after work during the week, and on weekends, typically early afternoon. So I think I have a pretty good experience of what goes on there day in and day out. And in that whole time I've been going for the 18 years, I'm not saying dog fights and dog bites do not happen. I have personally not witnessed once that that's happened. And so I would please recommend that you just leave the situation as it is, because we all know there's a difference between theory and practice. In theory, sure, it's against the law to have the dogs off leash. In practice, there's very little enforcement, especially on the county land. And all we're asking is for you to leave that the way it is. And bottom line, I mean, if you think about it, we've got limited resources and budgets. And so why expand our responsibility into an area that doesn't need expanded responsibility? It's good as it is. I mean, you look around, the crowd here, and I think most, if not all the people are going to attest to everything I've been telling you, we really enjoy this little oasis, and it's very difficult to find anything similar anywhere nearby. And I abide by all the other rules and regulations. I understand. I've got a legal background. I understand the need for rules and regulations. And so the fact that we can't have the dogs on the beach in Newport Beach before 4:30 is fine. But this one little area, once again, I urge you to leave it as it is. And in support of Mayor Dixon, I got to give her credit because on Sunday I sent her an email basically touching on all these points that I'm saying now. And Sunday about 4 o'clock, by 6 I had a response. And I didn't even know it, but turns out she's got 2 golden retrievers. So I thanked her for her response, and I said, listen, if you're ever over there, you can see for yourself that this is really a community gem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Joe Balzer, 124 24th Street. I'm a 13-year resident. I've had dogs most of the time. Most of the people have hit some of the real data points, the numbers and all that. Although I would say that the second gentleman, the numbers probably are actually bigger than that because a lot of my friends who live in Huntington, Costa Mesa, and other cities come to Newport so they can run their dogs on the beach or on the boardwalk, or in particular that area, especially if they're dogs that are water dogs, there's not a lot of places to take your water dog. I've been running that area with my dog for 5 years. I run all the way from the wedge, all the way up there. We've done it a lot of times. I have never seen a problem with dogs the entire time. And I do this a lot. I would see it. My dog tends to attract attention from other dogs. They like to run up. I've never had a problem over in that area. I truly feel like this is one of those situations where it's best to leave the situation as it is. And in this case, it really does look like it's an edict in search of a problem that doesn't really exist today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Chair Howell and members of the commission, my name is Jim Mosher. I live in Newport Beach, not near this beach though. I live on the Upper Bay, close to the airport. My view of the genesis of this meeting tonight is a little different than the other speakers have suggested, because in addition to coming here, I go to the meetings of the city's Water Quality Committee, of which Mayor Dixon is the chair. And shortly before she offered this as a item that the city should look into, there was a comment or commentary at that meeting of a potential health problem related to the dogs in this area. So I think it was her, I would guess it was her concern that there was possibly a health problem here. In preparation for the meeting tonight, I did a couple of things. I did review the minutes of this commission's meetings from 2010, when it was talking about our beach curfews in general on Newport Beach beaches. And I also looked up the Orange County Health Department reports about contamination in the ocean water along the beachfront. And although one's intuition is like the mayor would think, the samples that are taken at this beach actually don't stand out as being unusually polluted. There is, though, as was mentioned in talking about the beach curfew, there is a difficulty of interaction between people and dogs, and possibly on the sand, a problem with the waste that the dogs leave there. So I think to make an informed opinion about that, it would have been good if there was somebody here who could testify more knowledgeably than I could about the existence or non-existence of a health issue, because I really don't know what the data I looked at meant. Second thing that I think it would be good to be clarified is if everybody, you and everybody here, really understood what the county's policy about this was. We saw a rather ambiguous and self-contradictory sign that the county posted there. As to we understand there's not supposed to be any dogs there at all, but it told you to be polite with them. I know the county is not very consistent about its enforcement, because if you looked at the county ordinance in your agenda packet, it specifically said the upper Newport Bay Park is supposed to be a no-dog area, but the county actually provides dog bags there for people walking along the trail. And the final comment I wanted to make is you obviously have a lot of people here supporting the dog issue thing here, but there is the problem that we faced in 2010 about the interaction between people and dogs. And I think as park commissioners, you should want to ask if there's any unique recreational value to humans using this, who at the moment might be intimidated by all the dogs that are there, and if there's anything there that you need to consider and perhaps protect. I have no idea whether there is or not, but it's something for you to think about. Those people are probably not here because they probably wouldn't want to be using the beach because of all the dogs there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another speaker?
My name is Mike Hilford. I have been a resident for 50 years. And I see this as a similar exercise to the fire ring episode that Newport Beach got involved with not long ago. And that, it appeared to me, was an effort of a few people trying to make their property exclusive by excluding other people. This is basically a parking issue that a resident in that area, I think, wants to make it exclusive. Nothing to do with dog messes, nothing to do with urine, as your slide said, nothing to do with dog fights, nothing to do with bad elements, whatever you want to blame on it. The dogs are, every time I've been there, many times, the dogs are well behaved. They're enjoying themselves greatly, and so are the people. The last thing we need is more regulations. In an area like this, we really need a dog park, like Hunting Beach was wise enough to have. We don't have that, but we have an approximation of it down there, and I would encourage you to keep it the way it is. We don't need more enforcement. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is George Leslie. I live in Newport Shores. I've lived there for about 14 years. I do not have a dog. However, until recently, I had a grand dog, which is that would be my daughter and son-in-law's dog, which I walked frequently down the dog beach. And in addition to that, my wife and I walked down Prospect to the beach, up the beach to the corner where Dog Beach is, up through Dog Beach, back to Seashore Drive and home. So I've been in that area walking my former grand dog, or just walking through there for recreation hundreds of times. I have never seen any dog poop on the beach there, even once. And why would that be? For two reasons. Number one, I believe the vast majority of the people who use that beach are local people that bring their dogs. They don't come by car. Some of them do, obviously, but they walk their dog and they know they want to protect the beach. They understand the fragility of the beach. Number two, there's usually a lot of people there with dogs, and if your dog pooped and you didn't clean it up, people would be on your case like crazy. So it's a self-policing situation. So when Mr. Moser says, well, dog poop and urine and all that, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't think he frequents, I don't know how Downey's even been there before. So Dog Beach isn't really a beach. Dog Beach, the beach is, if you think about the beach is where you look out over Catalina, looking that direction. Dog Beach is just a little strip of sand that's the eastern shore of where the tide flows in and out of the riverbed. It's perpendicular to the regular beach, and it's a tiny strip of sand. It's not in anybody's way. It's so isolated, it's the last piece of sand before Huntington Beach. You can't pick it up and move it, you can't recreate it. It is a little gem. It's like doggy Disneyland. For dogs, it's the happiest place on earth. Just leave it alone. Don't mess with it. It's fine the way it is. I've never seen any dog fights. I've never heard of any dog fights. So just leave it alone. Thanks.
Hi there. My name is Michael Borges. I'm a 20-year resident of the Lido Sands community. I live at 52nd Street. And I just want to reiterate basically what that awesome dude just said. He's right on point. The people there, we consider the west side of Newport, all the surfers in that area is kind of the ghetto of Newport. And that dog beach is like our yacht club. It really is cool. Most of the people, I mean, as far as the people I've seen, dogs on the leash, poo-poo bags in hand. I know personally I'm Mr. Poo-poo Bag. I've got 5 bags on my leash at all times. And so you go there, you let the dogs off, they're running around, you're talking to your friends. It's just a really cool place. I suggest just going down on a Saturday afternoon, seeing for yourself. I've never seen a fight, never seen a dog poop anywhere, and the place is great. So I'd recommend just keeping it the same. It's a sandbar. At high tide, on a rainy day, it's gone. So just keep it how it is. Thank you very much.
I kind of guess it's my turn. My name is James DeCiccio. I'm from Ontario, California. I'm inland by like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, a drive. Taking him along because he enjoys dog beaches. He loves doing free off his leash. He's well behaved off his leash, like most dogs are. They play, they get along, and we have a good time. The only other places in Southern California is 2 beaches in San Diego and one in Huntington Beach. This is the first time I found out about this beach on Sunday. And what was going to happen here with putting dogs on leash and restricting them. I know when a dog is on leash, they are very, very unfriendly. They get at each other, they're unprotected, except by their owner, and they get into problems because they're on leash. Off leash, they have the freedom to run, to wander, and to have fun. And I would expect the commission to take a lot of these people into consideration and keep it the way it is. Like I say, I've never been to Newport Beach. I would love to go to Newport Beach because of the access that it has that I don't have at Huntington, that I have to deal with. At Huntington, I have to go down cliffs, fall down, hit a big cast on the leg, and it's very difficult to kind of hold on to him going down the beach on a leash because they don't have good access. Newport has good access. San Diego has great access, but it's a long way. It's a long walk to get up to a jetty for him to go swimming. He doesn't like having waves crashing over his head, like a lot of dogs, but he loves being in the water. So I would ask that the commission look into that. Look into the fact that dogs like the water, but some of them don't like going in over their heads. And the jetty gives them a chance to do that, and I may start using Newport as opposed to going to Huntington. I like going to Huntington because he has dogs that go there that he likes playing with. And San Diego, it's a long drive, but I go down there as well. So being in Ontario, Newport would be close. And being disabled, I would ask that you look into the fact that somebody that's disabled has an ability to get to a beach that they like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sharon Ray. I've not been a resident of Newport Beach for 50 years. We've actually spent 50 years trying to become residents of Newport Beach, which happened recently. One of our new favorite family traditions is Dog Beach. It's a wonderful place. It's relaxed. I've never seen any fights. It's a good place to be. It is a little bit of a Disneyland. My biggest concern, however, is that we do have limited resources. We live in the Heights. We have a huge problem with coyotes, as I'm sure you've heard. They're not on leash, by the way, not at all. And it would be horrible. I'd be very resentful if we tied up one officer's resources for 1 minute on a place that has no problems when I'm walking with pepper spray and a big stick every night and I'm truly afraid up there. I don't know why we're even talking about a place that when I look at the number of complaints that were in the handout are less than I see on the website next door in any given week up in the Heights. So please don't take resources from some place that we very much need it and put it someplace we obviously don't seem to need it at all. Thank you.
My name is Burr Buehlman. I've been a resident of Newport Beach since 1952. I like it here. It's a great place to live, and I've watched it go through a lot of changes. Leash laws and dogs on leash didn't exist for probably the first 10 years that I lived here, and nobody got bit, and life was wonderful. But the last speaker, actually took my main point. I was looking at the flyer here, and there were basically about 59 phone calls complaining about the dog beach in a year and 10 months. And I do believe that most of those calls were made by one person. So I find the great impetus to change the situation and have Newport take over the responsibility of policing a beach that most of us believe is just perfect the way it is. I'd encourage you to rule in that direction. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Josh Yoakum. I'm a resident of Balboa Island. I'm here to speak to recommend that you do not move forward with the MOU with the county and enforcement of river jetties and Dog Beach. And I've got two main points, and I'm not going to belabor it too much with the recreational value of the area. I'm sure you've heard from everyone here that that sandbar, there's not a whole lot for people to really enjoy, and dogs love it. You know, personally, I think sometimes I can speak for most of all of us here. If we've got, you know, leash laws, I love dogs a lot of times more than people. And when I think of leash laws, I think of this guy running amok in Dover Shores, and I wish we had a leash on him. But I think a lot of the time these dogs are safer with their owners. And I am familiar with that area. I was a Newport Beach lifeguard for a dozen or so years, and I can't remember very many conflicts there where people were bitten or dog-on-dog attacks, but that's my first point. The second one is what I think is a dangerous precedent to move forward with enforcement of dog rules on county land when we really don't do a very good job enforcing those rules on city property. And I'll tell you, the area I live, Balboa Island, zip code 92662, we've got 13 doggy bag canisters. Those are paid for by the residents of Balboa Island. The Balboa Island Improvement Association foots the bill for that, which runs up to about $10,000 a year, okay? On top of that, we recently reached out to the city for power washing along our boardwalks, along the bayfront there.